Okay. So this is about, so I'm going to go over some autistic symptoms. All right. I'm going to go over some autistic symptoms. So before I do that, I'm going to give a little apology video about what I thought that were extra symptoms of autism, but really it was just horrible separate mental illnesses that are not a part of autism. Like, for example, anger issues. No, that's not autism. That's not autism. You just were raised that way. You just was raised that way. So your parents probably got anger issues and then just taught you like hitting is the option to everything. Hitting is like the answer to everything. Like, you were vicious. I shouldn't be saying like that, but you were violent because your parents taught you that way, or you just be going through a whole lot of stuff where it just messed you up. Whether it's with your parents, some bullying in school, something like that, it just messed you up. One thing I can say is like, just write something down. Write down why you're angry, or something like that. It can work. It works. Go to church. Pray for deliverance. All right. Um, Making crappy art on the bathroom walls. That's not autism. That's just nasty. Like, that's a whole separate mental illness from autism. Like, that's not autism. That's doodle finger syndrome. That's all there is. All right. That's just a whole nother mental illness. I don't know what's going on down there where people think they need to put art on the bathroom walls, but that's not autism. That's just sick. So yeah, that's my apology. So let's go over the autism symptoms, okay? Rejecting cuddles. Like, some autistic people, like, they say it's a spectrum, but some things that some autistic people can get and some can't get, it's like it affects everybody depending on the functionality, but it shouldn't be affecting everybody that differently, if you know what I'm saying. Like, rejecting cuddles. Like, when I was autistic, I was highly affectionate, sometimes annoying with it. So, and I know some autistic people just don't like to be touched. So, yeah, not responding. Like, when I was autistic, like, I don't hear you until you call my name twice. I could relate to that. Learning disability. I get it. Like, how do I say this? It's like the higher the functioning, the less obvious that is. But when it comes to learning disability, it's like it applies more to the medium and low functioning. When you have high functioning autism, like, you could literally learn anything, or you just have a different way of learning it, something like that. But yeah, but if this is talking about social cluelessness, you're probably dealing with someone who confuses you of every decision that you have ever made in your life. That's what you're talking about. You're literally confusing yourself with every, like, you're probably dealing with someone who just, you probably seek social validation to the point where you're confusing yourself of every decision you've ever made by relying so heavily on somebody to make all the decisions for you, where you can't even think for yourself. You don't even trust your own judgment. So that kind of learning disability doesn't apply to, so that kind of learning disability doesn't really exist like that. But if you're talking about like a really delayed learning disability, like the lower functioning you are, the more you think kind of like a baby, something like that. Like I can agree with that. But when you're high functioning, you don't think like that. Like you think like an adult. So yeah. Avoids eye contact. Every autistic person do that. Lines up objects. Over or under sensitive. Yep. Every autistic person go through that. Repetitive movements. Yeah. So there are some other symptoms that are not autism, that are not autistic, but they're for discriminatory purposes. So, increased risk of victimization, PTSD, being suicidal, delusional, and psychosis. These things, these symptoms, like here's the thing, I don't care what anybody says. I don't even care if a fellow autistic person says that those symptoms are autistic. If they say that those people, if that those are the symptoms of autism, though, they don't care about you. You can call yourself special all you want. Those people, like, how do I say this? Mentally disabled people are the most left out people in the whole entire world because of symptoms like this. Like think about it like this. Victimization as a symptom. People, like, let's say for example, you're going through something, like somebody's bullying you, and then you tell somebody, and then somebody who knows you're autistic, you tell somebody what you're going through, and then they say, oh, that's just your autism, your victimization, like that's your autism, like that's what victimization do, like that's what your autism do, like your victimization is part of your autism. Like you can't go through nothing. You can't go through nothing because you're autistic. You can't go through nothing because you going through victimization. Like people just don't want to listen to you. And PTSD, like they want to excuse the fact, they want the world to think that autistic people can't go through no PTSD. So they want to make that a part of autism, where it's like it's just a normal thing. Like you get PTSD for literally no reason. You get PTSD for literally no reason. Out of nowhere, nobody caused you it. You just got it for no reason because you're autistic. So, being suicidal. Being suicidal is in your DNA. You don't know why, but you just is. You don't know why, you just is. It's because you're autistic. Suicidal is all in your DNA. Delusional. Delusional. When people call you delusional, when people who know you autistic, mentally ill, schizophrenic, when you tell somebody something and they call you delusional, they're doing that to insult you. They're doing that to discriminate towards you. Because they don't want to believe you. They don't want to believe you. Like this and psychosis. Now they turning autism into schizophrenia. Autism is not schizophrenia. They mixing autism with schizophrenia. Like, there's nothing special about, like, people want to be autistic until you get treated like you autistic. Like, like, people who are mentally disabled, mentally ill, mentally disordered, whatever, are the most left out communities in the world. Even the law will find a way not to listen to you. This is why not only neurotypicals, but autistic people should stop turning every symptom, including bad personality traits, into an autistic symptom or a schizophrenic symptom. Everybody see a killer killing somebody, and then they be like, oh, this person got schizophrenia. Why can't murder be the mental illness? It shouldn't, like, don't make it a permanent one. There are murderers who got out of jail and got it together. But dang. So here's the thing. Some of these people who going over it, like, be careful about who tells you about what autism is and what autism isn't, because some people are just using some of the symptoms just for discriminatory purposes, and just to, like, how do I say this? And just to how do I say this? Just for discriminatory purposes, because it's already bad that even authorities don't want to listen to us. Like me, it's like I should stop calling myself autistic, because it's like I got delivered. I'm so used to it. But yeah. So it's like, how do I say this? 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 Like, I need to stop calling myself autistic, because it's like I'm delivered from autism. And it's like I need to work on that. And another excuse me. And another symptom that is not autistic, that is not autism, is awkwardness. Sometimes you're just awkward. Sometimes that's just your personality. Like, you could be a neurotypical and be awkward. You can be autistic and be outgoing, confident, taking up all the space, got it together. Like, you could be autistic and have multiple personalities. Like, you could be autistic and be all all that stuff. So it's like, but here's the thing. So one thing is this. One thing I'm gonna say is this to fellow autistic people: if you going through abuse and all that stuff, like, don't quit fighting for your rights. Don't quit fighting for your rights, and keep using these rights. Keep using these rights to just stay strong. And one thing I would say is, if you really want to fight for your rights, if you really want to fight for your rights, if you're going through any abuse and all that stuff, and you want to talk to the authorities and all that stuff, here's a little secret that God has told me. All right? You're going to have to speak to them in a language that they understand. Speak to them in a language that they understand. Like, even though many people are trying so hard not to hear you, don't give up speaking. Like, even though people are trying so hard not to listen to you, don't give up speaking out, speaking up, and fighting for what's right. Set your boundaries, get it together, know what you want and what you need, know what you're doing, know what you're saying, okay? Fight that social cluelessness, because that's not a thing. That's not an autism symptom. You're being manipulated by some dude who just always asking you, like, how do you know that? Or how do you know you're seeing that? How do you know if you're saying that? Like, stuff like that, okay? Or interrupting you every time you seek them for validation. But how do you know? How do you know? How do you know? Like, always interrupting you. Like, sometimes you just want to slap them. Like, I'm sorry, God, forgive me. But you know what I'm saying. But here's the thing. But one thing I'm going to tell you is this. I'm going to just make this firm and straight. All right? I'm going to give you some heads up. Okay? People, even though many people may discriminate, some people don't know what they're doing, but you're going to have to treat these people like they probably don't care. And you probably going to have to sneak around and find a loophole on how to make things work. If you can't confront the situation directly without being called the issue, like without being called accusative or delusional or crazy or the person with the victim mentality or all of that. You know what I'm saying? That's my little heads up. So yeah, God bless.